Hello, and welcome back to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here, we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. CVJS and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter. In 1 week, we will usher in a new American democracy with President-elect Joseph Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Mikko Nissinen, Artistic Director of Boston Ballet. Mikko and I have known each other since 1986. Welcome, Mikko.
Thank you, Helen. Great to be here.
I'm so happy to see you in your office.
Likewise, I like the flowers.
Thank
It's like transfer from your.
It's all choreography. It's all
choreography.
So, Mikko, the first question I ask everybody is, what part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
I believe you're in your office. I recognize it.
Yeah, South End, 19 Clarendon Street.
There we go. That makes me happy. Back in the ballet building.
I'm so happy to be back. You will know.
Oh, I can only imagine how it's been. I can't imagine, actually. My place of work has been my office for the past months.
Yeah. It's just another environment that to go to. It's so refreshing, and all the memories of it. And next week my dancers are coming back, and yeah, exactly.
So I want to dive right in by just congratulating you on two items. First of all, I believe this is your 20th year.
This coming September 5th is going to be 20 years since I signed my contract with the Boston Ballet. You're absolutely correct.
Congratulations. That's just beautiful. And the other thing I want to congratulate you on is you received a Knight First Class of the Order of the Lion of Finland in 2019.
Well, thank you. It was fun. You know, you know me so well, and I'm so proud of my heritage and the country, and I always try to be such a cultural ambassador and help them in every which way and represent them well, and so it was a very nice recognition.
Yeah, well deserved. So I want to start with last year's pivot because of the pandemic. I was actually at the Opera House with you on stage the day you had the very hard job of telling the company that there would be no premiere, and we did not know what was going to happen at that point. I'm not going to dwell on that aspect because it's a new year, but I do want to talk a bit about the fact that after so much planning and so many plans that you put into place to create a fall pod season, we all learned about resilience, but what stood out to you in terms of Boston Ballet's ability to strive and, yes, to thrive during this time? In what ways did you pivot? And then the third part of the question, which I can repeat, is what does 2021 hold for you and the company?
Well, when you looked at the situation last March, nobody knew what was going to happen. Very quickly, we understood that we just had to have patience and let things evolve. At the same time, it became very clear after we ran so many scenarios, 2 weeks forward, a month forward, 2 months forward, 3 months forward, then something happens and no, that's not. It was exhausting. I felt like we were little rats in a circle, like just running and running, and more uncertainty and this sort of a weird feeling. But I have to say, at the core of everything was probably the same thing we are so used to taking risks, and we just plowed in, and we did not know what the end results are. You know, we are now in a fully digital season. We did the right decisions with our dancers, with our staff, some really hard decisions. And, you know, in that sense, we were all in it together. We had town halls very often with the full organization, just full transparency and connecting with people and talking about what we see, and heard feedback. Black Lives Matter happens, took on huge DEI issues, and sort of DEI committee from the board through the organization. We did so much initial work, and then started the implementation already in June. And so all that on top of it, you know, exhausting. Because the good news was that we connected a lot with the artistic directors. We're still from across the country and internationally as well. But then, you know, doing this digital subscription, decided to create some film projects, and most of them we got them done. And the first one was the filming of the dress rehearsal of the show that was not. And you know, all the artists were so generous, and I have to say, by then it was almost 6 months. It was, I think, August something when we did it, and it was so touching to see the performance that was the dress rehearsal that we all are so picky about, you know. But after this vacuum, boy, did it look good. The dancers were incredible. The pieces were great. It was just like, that was the start of it all. And then the whole digital season, because we had subscribers. We bought tickets, but there was not going to be any shows. So we sort of replaced the subscription with a digital version of it. And it's going really well. And from the health procedures, having the dancers, 10 dancers per pod from September through middle of December, 0 cases. The protocols were exceptional. We were in touch with the scientists and the medical institutions that are fantastic in Boston, and coordinated that. And oh my God, the good news is, like, we're pretty much industry leaders on that. And AGMA is super happy, because they've seen how seriously we take the whole situation. And it's been incredible what has been achieved and done. And now the dancers are coming back. We took a break in the middle of the year because we guaranteed them a 30-week contract. Because if I don't have the company this year, then the company goes away. And that's the heart of everything. So we wanted to really make sure we keep the company together. And then I decided that, how do you divide 30 weeks? I didn't want to stop and start too many times. So I decided that the period of the toughest flu season, that's when we're going to take the break, because otherwise I anticipated that there would have been, you know, flu cases, and then everybody thinks it's COVID. So we are at the tail end of that. And I just cross my fingers for the spring. You know, we have lots of plans and more digital things to deliver. And with right now, tonight, executive committee meeting, we are taking our concept of the next year to them and discussing, and then starting to the not so fun part of my job called budgeting, running scenarios and thinking what that would be. And it's really hard, because world is a different world. Today, we are so apart as a country. The whole Black Lives Matter, it's reality, it's everywhere. And we want to make a statement. You know, I'm sick and tired of listening to lies and people ignoring things. I can't be anymore this artist who is you know, we have to take a statement of what we see in this world, because if we don't do it, who does it? If politicians are okay to lie through their teeth and that's acceptable, people believe that, and we have to put our stake in the ground and say, these are the values that we represent. These are the values that we want to expose you to. So our art will have a very important place on the future, and that social experience of experiencing live performance together with the audience.
Yeah.
And you know, there's I think people will realize how satisfying that and how necessary for the human experience. So I'm optimistic in many ways, and I think through these hard times there will be a renaissance. The digital is there to stay, but the question is, in what segment of your organization and to what extent? It will never replace the other product, but we've learned a ton, and so it's going to be fascinating. We will still have next year is going to be quite a hiccup year, and we have to just get fully standing. And you know, this spring, as good as it looked last summer, doesn't look so good right now. And I think, you know, let's look at what is the next fall or the following spring, and how do we lift these organizations back on their foundations, and what is the new normalcy? I mean, questions left, right, and middle. But I go back to what I said, hinted a little bit about. I think the reason why we have survived this quite well is the same fearlessness attitude to take risks and manage them to the success. We never hesitate to take risks. Not taking risk is boring. I would fall asleep with that kind of thing. So right now, you are so alive in a way. You're dull and numb in one way, you know, this whole isolation. But how exciting to try to start a whole new place in art form's history, in a country's history. Future is now.
I mean, you're speaking about everything. I'm so happy you brought a multitude of these subjects up. It's so important to hear from a leader. Just a bit touching on what you said as far as leadership as opposed to non-leadership, which is really, you see what happened in this country. I mean, it's not just that it was completely poisonous leadership. There was none. There was, and you are the epitome of a leader who cares, of someone who's saying, right, this is how our world looks, and this is how we want our world to look. Because you and I both know, like you said, we've known each other for so long. I've had so many conversations. We both know together is better. Collaboration is what makes all of the sparks happen. And preaching to the choir about risk, because that is art, right, Mikko? I mean, and I'm like you, I think I have this hope that maybe our art form might welcome the risk a bit more now. And because I think we were kind of, not everyone, but I think we were kind of in a very safe place for a long time.
Yeah, it's so much the question of that. You have to be relevant.
Yes.
I always say, I don't want to be a museum.
Yes.
I don't want to be a church. I need to be a living theater for today's people. So while artists, in a way, they take the temperature of the world and environments where they live, and they recycle those feelings and thoughts through their works. Yeah, it's a very special thing to do. It's a scary thing to do, and it's unbelievable what human beings can do.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much. Mikko, you were born, if you didn't know this, you were born in Helsinki and trained with Helsinki National Ballet and then the Kirov Ballet School. Went on to dance professionally for 19 years with the Dutch National Ballet, Basel Ballet, and as a principal artist for many years with the San Francisco Ballet. Then you went on to your directorships and you started with Marin Ballet, then Alberta Ballet, becoming the director of Boston Ballet in 2001. Mikko, as far as strategy, can you explain your three-part repertoire balance? I read this, I find it very interesting. How did you form this idea, an idea that made the company, and this is a quote, one of the leading dance organizations in the country?
Well, it comes a little bit from the seed of being relevant. I think it's so much at the heart of that. And there's all this talk about elitism. And, yes, ballet came from the being supported and sort of given birth by the royal families. There's no denying that. And it was orphans who were the trained dancers initially. And so it started there. But I wanted it to be inclusive versus exclusive. And I can't imagine that I would have an organization that has one door where people can come in. I want many doors. I want people who know and love the classical ballets. They come from this door into the organization. Then people who are sort of on a bandwagon of the neoclassical ballet sort of balance sheet, they come from the middle door. And then there is the third door, which is embracing contemporary dance. And that way, it is all on my shoulders after that. People don't need to understand anything, but I have to deliver quality. And people sense quality. And guess what? It's like a business school study that how do you get these markets to cross-pollinate? It happens, and it has happened so well. I'm so proud of Boston. When I came here, everybody in here and elsewhere told me, oh, you can't do anything, you have to do just be classical ballets. And I was just like, There was one moment I remember I scheduled Stravinsky ballet, movements and monumentum progressual, monumentum progressualdo and movements for, oh my God, I'm forgetting the title. Anyway, two very precious Stravinsky works. And, Boston was so educated. They knew how important these musical works were. And they loved them. And that was like a bell going on in my head and saying, okay, they really get. So since then, I have never held back on anything. And I just put it in front of them. And what a journey it has been.
Yeah. I mean, you gave me my start in the professional world.
Yeah.
2005.
Look at how well you've done. But it was a positioning. I knew who you were as a person. I knew what kind of person you had. And then I knew the journey that you had taken. Your background in classical ballet, trained in San Francisco Ballet School, and then the Forsyth experience and your theatrical thing. So, I mean, if you're going to make a soup or any kind of dish and you have incredible ingredients, so it was very easy to get going with you because you had all the right ingredients, and look at what you've done with your career.
Well, thank you, Mikko, but I still want to, it's really important. And I think it was a big point of this interview that I wanted people to hear. The point is, again, and I just want to iterate it, it's so important. You take risks because that is art. That's what we must do. We have to invest in something new. And you have done this through the years that I've known you. Even as an artist, when I knew you as a dancer, you took risks. You liked the new. You gravitated. You were curious. And curiosity is something that nothing can replace it, right?
No.
So Boston Globe wrote that under your direction, the Boston Ballet transformation was one of the biggest art stories of the decade. As long as I've known you, you have pushed the envelope in terms of bringing ballet forward. What influences inspired you or inspire you and supported your quest to reach and think beyond? So we talked about that this is your ethos, but what were some of your inspirations, in this path, along the path?
Well, it's the fundamental thinking, like I am hired by the board of Boston Ballet to do a job here. They're wonderful people, and um, while I directly work for them, they wanted a change at the Boston Ballet. But what they expect of me, let's just say it's a lot. I expect so much more myself, but then I feel like I've been trusted to take care of this organization, artistic leadership. But I really also think that I'm responsible for the art form. So the goddess of the art form is Terpsichore. So, and she's a tough boss. So I have really aligned. I'm trying to take care of the art form to my best ability. That is the single guiding light in all this. Everything else comes after that. It's about that. That's what I've been trusted. And if I understand then the community where I am and build an arts organization that takes care of that, as well as being relevant to the people here. And then, of course, if you do a good job, it's not just what you do while you do it. You want to leave a legacy. Way past your years, you've left something that grows and continues to thrive after that. So that's the guiding principle for me always, that, there's no such thing as power. Yes, you have ability to make decisions, but the power is really spelled responsibility. It's people say, well, how do you think about the power? I never even thought about that word. I just feel the responsibility and think about that.
Yeah.
That's at the heart of it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. In 2016, you established a long-term company partnership with William Forsythe. How has this shaped the company? So you've already had some years with it. How do you think it shaped the company? Yeah, let's start there.
Well, I've always thought the world of William Forsythe. Always. Just enjoyed his work. As a dancer, I danced only one of his works. Mm-hmm. And one day he showed up in the studio, and he was flying from Japan to Frankfurt, and there was a 5-hour layoff in San Francisco, and he showed up in the building. I said, oh, my ballet, I'll take this rehearsal. And I was rehearsing the Manuel Legris solo in the middle. And, in 1 hour, he liberated me so royally.
Yes.
It's just like, it was so much harder to dance it before, and with the less result. And then it was just a blast. From then on, it was just like blast to dance it. And I danced it quite a bit. And I danced every other ballet better too because of that. So if it was such a huge thing for me, of course I wanted these ballets in Boston so that my dancers can experience them. And, it was a little slow going initially. Yeah, my very first program actually had middle in it. Oh, yeah. And also the finances were in a different place here. So I brought people who had been influenced. You were the first one. And we talked a lot about improvising, because the company then, improvisation was like unheard of. And we started cultivating the value systems that, he wants. So we did the same thing with the Jorma and Killian repertoire.
Exactly. Yeah.
By the time we had the Killian repertoire, they had already been exposed enough, so they danced it well. And Bill laughingly said to me when we were going to the Lincoln Center on tour, and he finally came in person to rehearse the company, he said, "Ooh, it took a long time, didn't it?" I said, "Yeah, we talked about it for 10 years."
Yeah.
And then eventually, of course, this current relationship is just incredible. Initially, it was the 5-year partnership.
Yeah.
Now it's just said, "This is my home company. That's it." And I said, my job is just to be enabler. I need to enable him to do what he wants to do, but it has shaped the company. It has definitely, and they love working with him. And I see the difference, and it's just, the cream just rises to the top, and they developed so much, and thank God I'm not jealous about it, but they have a damn good thing going for themselves. No, it's a blessing. It's a pleasure of a lifetime. It's a dream come true. It's
Yeah, I mean, Mikko, you spoke about yourself as a dancer being liberated, right? Through 1 hour. Bill is an extraordinary coach. And at the heart of his coaching, he sees human beings. And this is something I think which also put Frankfurt Ballet on the map. He was dealing with, it must have been like herding cats, because he had 42 extremely strong personalities in that company. We all had an opinion. But man, he could pull out things from dancers, from us. I see it in your dancers that were living in us, but I'm going to use your word again, but we're not liberated. It's almost like you said the word, you said responsibility. He bestows responsibility onto dancers. So then what do dancers feel? They feel agency, and they feel strength, and they feel possibility.
empowered.
I think that is one of Bill's greatest. I'm going to use the word. I think it's a part of his genius. I really do. He gets the idea. You had that 1 hour of liberty. I remember he sat with me alone. He excused everybody. It was early on. I was 23, 24, and I was doing Artifact Pas de Deux. It's the first really big role I did. And he excused everyone and sat with me for 1 hour. And all we did was go over 8 counts of music. And he showed me how many ways I could listen to the music. And I thought it was musical before. Man, the whole idea of musicality burst open like a lotus flower from that 1 hour.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy he's with Boston. I love hearing the stories, and I'm like, oh yeah, gosh, I can feel that. I can, it's beautiful.
And it was great to do another work, and then we did the full Artifact. That was major.
Yeah.
And to be able to the first company in North America to do it, and then do these full Foresight programs, and we took one to, we went to Paris with his works, and it's just like, yeah, I just want more.
And that's a great thing. He wants more too, and it's beautiful. The hunger is on both sides. I love it.
We are so lucky.
Huh?
We are so lucky, so lucky. But I also want to be clear. You were building the bridges a long time. Positioning that this was able to happen, helping the company.
Yeah, I spoke to Bill a lot. Working with you, it's you speak like he's a part of my life. He's been a part of my life since I'm 19. So every time we talk and we have conversations, and I did the speaking role for so many years, so I'd see him a couple times a year, and you speak about things that are special in your life. So Boston Ballet came up. You came up. Yeah. What aspects do you find important? This is kind of a generalized question, but what aspects do you find important in building a thriving dancer? I think we've covered a lot of this, but I guess in your 20 years, how has your perspective shifted? I think let's go with this question. How has your perspective shifted, and how have you reimagined yourself as a director in the past almost 20 years?
Well, I start with the second part first because it's the important thing as a director is to reinvent yourself, because otherwise you've done something and oh, it works and it's successful this way, but you have to look at yourself anew, the world anew, the company anew. You know, it's this 4 seasons. You know, it's gardening, it's putting ingredients into the soil that the roots are in a good health, that brings a nice tree that has the leaves and has the flowers. You know, you have to take care of that. With dancers, it's interesting because of course I was a very young director and the dancers were very much the same age, and when I came here, you know, I was brought to do change, and human nature says they like change, but they resisted with everything. So, you know, I had to be strong and take all that on me, the unpleasant stuff that comes with change when you don't renew people's contracts. But first you invest in them, you give them the opportunity, and then some people rise to the thing, because we changed from playing ice hockey to basketball, and it's not easy. But I see a dancer and I'm such an optimist. I see, oh, it can develop to here. And I'm still not good at it, but I'm trying to ask myself to be more, yes, I can't help but see that, but put more of that responsibility on the dancer. And I think I would be doing better job. I said, I can see you getting there, but you have to do it. Today, in a way, everything is so easy. Everything is on the internet. You don't have to go and chase and hunt these videotapes of all these productions and, you know, even different casts and learn so much. Now everything is there, and I feel lots of people don't even bother watching them. I have lots of professional dancers who never seen some of the key classical ballets. Oh, I've never seen Raimonda. Oh, I don't know, I didn't do it. It's like the experience is me based versus understanding the art form and loving the dance in general. So what I'm trying to do better developing the dancers is putting more on their own shoulders and make them understand that, because at the end the teachers help and stimulate them. The learning happens within themselves. You can't anybody to learn anything. It has to be the individual. So I'm trying to be a little bit clearer with them and articulate that better than I did in the past.
Yeah. And then that you spoke about it, that helps them reach their fullest potential. It's like a two-way street.
Yeah, but you know, fullest potential is we all have our DNA, and you know, some of us are not meant to reach our fullest potential because we are who we are. And then there's some of us are more meant to reach that. And so it's because we are a sum of decisions that we do and the decisions that we choose not to do. And you know, and sometimes we are our own worst enemy. You know, young dancer, too eager, you know, like fight so much for it that actually keeps the thing away. When you allow it to come to you, it's a different story. And everybody's path is different. Just validate individuals and give them encouragement and good examples and a great environment.
Yeah. Beautiful. Perfect setup. Yeah. Okay. So, can you share a favorite or impactful memory? Just, one that comes to you now from your creative life.
Well, three things come into mind. First, I was a young dancer with Dutch National Ballet. Did a work with Caroline Carson,
Oh, yeah.
and it was a barefoot work, and it was just wonderful experience. It was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. Another one was, doing the lead in the theme and variations, which is so hard, and being able to do that and that was very, very meaningful. But I have to say, as a director, there's been I've been very blessed with so many beautiful, rich experiences, and I have to say that some of these tours, I mean, our tour to Paris, and so was the tour to London. And when I looked at how we danced in New York City, I could have not asked better for my dancers. And but as a young dancer, I went to New York to study when I was like 16 years old, and seeing a huge poster on the side of the New York State Theater, the Pepsi House these days, the Coke Theater. And doing that journey back, remembering seeing first ballet in a Paris opera, and now you with your company in Paris, or London Coliseum where I saw Rudolf Nureyev dance first time. Now you're there with your company, and you remember walking down the St. Martin's Lane, and you remember the Fried store, the ballet store was there. Now there's no more ballet store. That's where I bought those books that I learned. Those are rich, incredible memories.
Yeah, beautiful. You are a sought-after speaker in part because of your vast experience and contribution to the dance world. What insights can you share about living a creative life, the life you've lived? So,
Well, I mean, I don't have much choice. I have my DNA, my demons. I'm so driven by what's inside me. I need to learn new all the time, and I need to be. Otherwise, I can't. It's a little bit. I had one chairman of the board a while back in Boston. It was time to renew my contract, and this gentleman was a one year chairman, and he said to me, we have to put some incentives for you in a contract. And I was like, incentives? I said, Peter, you really don't know me. I'm the energizer bunny. I wish I could find the switch off. Like, I don't have that. I don't have that option. Nobody's ever given me that. That's so. I think that's the insight. I'm like, I can't stop exploring, inventing. I want to go so deep. Whether it's my love for David Bowie's music, I want to be in a studio with all those outtakes that never made anywhere. I want to understand those. Yeah. I don't want to just know the biggest songs and that. Obvious. Of course, I like them. Okay, but let's dig deep. Whether it's my passion on fishing or collecting, I'm obsessed. I mean, I'm totally obsessive person. I started, and you don't want to even know. Let's not go there. But that is the secret. The secret is to understand who you are, your DNA, and accept yourself. I wish I would have accepted myself more as a dancer. I probably would have enjoyed it even more. eventually, you know that it's going to come to the end at one point, and you say to yourself, they seem to like me. Maybe I should like myself a little bit more and just liberate already all the other minutia from your head. First you climb, then you get the rank, but it's not. Those are just little validations. At the end, and artists' work is how deep work are you able to do? And
That is,
then the artist is incredible.
yeah, that is gold, Mikko. Here's our last big question. In supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what are some specific daily practices that we can be active with?
Well, it's you have to create an environment. The word diversity is not enough. That was one element. Today, I've learned a lot because I've always been very much for diversity. I come from a country where the equality of the sexes have been pretty much achieved. We have a 35-year-old prime minister, and her cabinet is all young women. We had a second female president. At the same time, the Minister of Defense who ran the military was a woman. So I have always been for equality and diversity, but now I understand the situation that America has had and the specific aspect of it. So you just have to look at everything through that lens and ask yourself those questions. And there is not going to be next week or next year answers to some of those things. So the actions that what I'm starting to do is, if I want more Black female dancers, for example, or where are the rehearsal directors, Black rehearsal directors, it's not just going and hiring. Everybody's running around and trying to do that right now. I'm trying to work. How do I produce future? You need to produce these people. How do you accessibility to early training in your community? How does it feel to be a Black student who comes to the ballet school?
I think you have a call coming in.
Might be you, yeah.
No, it's not me.
Oh, it must be my computer. Let me see if I. I'll just turn the speakers up. How about that? Yeah. So I have been talking with Virginia Johnson for a good 20 years about all these issues, but now it's really, really, really clear is that you have to build access points. That's how you can help it. So, but there's this, you have to look at everything through so many lenses, whether it's just your repertoire. It's not about hiring a one person there. It's your base commitment, whether it's bringing more female voices to the industry, more diverse voices. We want to hear what these people, let's say Black people, want to say through their art, how they feel, and just creating opportunities and pipelines for that.
Yeah.
It's there's always the short term, mid-term, and the long term. The most important work is the long term. The other work has to take place anyway. But then you will impact change in a real way.
Mikko, my friend, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I always preface Creative Vitality Jam sessions in the beginning as that we have, we have the luxury of having intimate conversations, and you're the 55th episode, and it's just wonderful to sit down and talk with you and have other people be able to hear now. You do a ton of interviews, but I think sometimes between friends, more intimate details about the art come up. So thank you so much for this candid and generous and open conversation. It's a pleasure to be in your company. So I just want to direct the viewers, bostonballet.org. That's the best way to find out more about you, the work you do, and the work that your amazing organization's doing. Any other place? Instagram?
We are everywhere.
Good.
Yeah, but the bostonballet.org is the homepage.
Okay, great. And just for a little bit more information, there will be a description box accompanying this video where you'll have a short bio from Mikko. We have new guests every week. Our next guest is actually going to be a part of, or is a part of, the Boston Ballet family. Stephen Galloway is my next guest. He is a creative consultant, go-to creative movement director, a fashion and costume designer, and a choreographer. I want to thank Gracie Spina, my intern co-producer. I want to thank my amazing dance world that has held me up all of these years. It's an amazing community to be a part of. And again, Mikko, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Helen.
See you. Bye.
Bye.